Welcome to the OpenPilot tutorial for setting up your ground control station software and using the new setup wizard developed by OpenPilot for the copter control boards. First of all, you'll need to download your software. That can be found here on the OpenPilot wiki site. Now, the wiki site has a lot of information and I highly recommend that you visit this site and read through it. It will tell you everything you need to know about setting up, configuring and running your copter control board. So if we scroll down, we'll see the download link. It opens up the OpenPilot software download page. From here we scroll down and you'll see the ground control station software for the relevant operating systems being Windows, Mac OS and Linux. So obviously choose the version that you have for your operating system. Once you choose that, download it and save it to your computer somewhere. Now within this tutorial as well, we'll also cover off, if you already have the ground control station installed, of how to correctly uninstall it so you can reinstall the new software. So if you have it installed, I'm running Windows, so Linux and Mac might be slightly different, but navigate to the OpenPilot folder, find the uninstall link, click on it, select next. Now at this page it's very important that you click on configuration, that you select to uninstall that as well. There's been a number of changes between the last version of the ground control station and the latest version, which needs you to remove your configuration files. So please select that and then continue on of uninstalling the software. Now once uninstalled, we obviously need to reinstall, or if for a first time, install the software. So find where you've downloaded the software to, double click on it, select run, select the language that you require, and next. Leave all the components ticked there, leave it on the default folder is the best scenario, and then click install. Once it's finished installing, we can run the ground control station. So you'll see our welcome screen here. Down below we have our different tabs for doing different things. We won't touch on them in this tutorial, we will in later ones. One of the important things we need to do, but if you're an existing user of the OpenPilot copter control board and ground control station, you will need to update your firmware. Now for those that have just purchased a CC3D board, it will come out with the latest software already installed, the firmware installed, but for those that require to update because of a previous board, what we need to do is go to your firmware page. Now from here we do not have the board plugged in. So what we need to do is to click on rescue. Once it clicks on rescue, the prompts will pop up. Now you plug your board at this point into a USB port and it will open up and show you the information about your board. So from here we need to flash the board with the latest firmware. So we go to open. Now on Windows it will open up in the correct folder. For Mac OS and Linux, down below at the bottom of the screen you'll see the links for them, where if you have left them on the default install folders, that's where they will be, these two files. So you'll see we have two files, a copter control file and the PipX Extreme. Select the copter control. Now if you have an OpenPilot CC3D, that will work as well on here. So we select open and then we click on flash. Once the board completes its flashing, we will need to reboot the board. So you'll see there that the upload has been successful, so we need to boot the board. So if we come up to the boot button up the top and click it, you will see that the board will become active. You will get your board diagnostics gadget come up with the different colors, whether it be green, yellow, so you know that it's all installed and ready to go. Next, we have to go and run our setup wizard. Okay, this is where we'll pick up new users. So if you have just installed the ground control station software and you have one of the new CC3D boards, you probably haven't needed to upgrade the firmware. So at this point, if you plug your board into a USB port, it will recognize your board. Once it's recognized and the main board gadget over here lights up with the different colors, we need to continue. So we click on welcome to the welcome screen and we go to the vehicle setup wizard. Once here on the welcome to the OpenPilot setup wizard page, I won't read right through it, but the important message on this page is this warning that you must remove all propellers from the vehicle before proceeding. This is a very important step, as during this setup wizard, the wizard will spin your motors up one at a time. This is required for the setup of the motors. The last thing you want to have is your propellers connected at that stage. So please, before proceeding any further, if you have not removed your propellers, remove them now. Once removed, click next. So we go to next. Because we've already plugged the board in, on the connection page here we already see that it's connected via USB, and that the type of board is a Copter Control 3D that I'm running for this tutorial, one of the new boards that have just come out. So we click next again. From here we have to select our input signal. Now your input signal is your RC receiver. So there is 4 basic types that are used. There's a PWM, which is 1 cable per channel. There's a PPM, which is 1 cable for all channels. There's a Futaba S-Bus system, and there's a Spectrum satellite system. So if you're not sure what you have, something to assist you, if you come back to the wiki page and go to General RC Documentation, from there the receiver and transmitter options, it will open up a page that will give you information on what each one of them is. So what a PWM is, what a PPM is, what a Spectrum satellite is, and what a Futaba S-Bus system is. So you need to select which system you have. Once you've done that, come back to the wiki and select what you have. Now on mine you can see that mine is a PWM. It's a 1 cable per channel system. So I select that and go next. The vehicle type selection, there's only one selection at this point, the multi-rotor. At present, that's the only thing that is in the wizard. The fixed wing, helicopter and surface setup wizards will be supported and released at a later time. So if we go next, now from here we need to select our multi-rotor vehicle type. So what that is whether it's a tricopter, whether it's a quadcopter in an X position, whether it's a quadcopter in a plus position, whether it's a hexacopter, and so on. So my quadcopter is a quadcopter that's in the X position, so I will select that. Now from here you can see each one has a photo next to it, and each of those photos shows you the numbering of the motors and the direction of the motors and the propellers. So channel 1, motor 1, runs in a clockwise position. Number 2 runs in an anti-clockwise direction. Number 3 is in a clockwise direction. And number 4 is an anti-clockwise direction. So we go next. Now we come up to the output signal configuration. Now OpenPilot supports a lot of different speed controllers, ESCs, and most of them will work in a turbo PPM mode. If you're not sure of whether you can run that or not, there is a page that you can go to on the wiki that will assist you. So if you go to the OpenPilot hardware user manual, then the turbo PWM ESCs, it will explain how they work and what that is, and the ones that are supported. Now, I have speed controllers that aren't on this list and they are supported, so the majority of speed controllers will be supported by that. So select Turbo PWM and then go next. What that is, it's the update rate. So a standard is at 50 Hertz. Running a quadcopter is, or any type of multi-rotor copter, is better to be done at 400 Hertz. It's just a lot faster response time for the board to the speed controllers. So if we go next, it'll come up with our configuration summary. So from here we can see that our controller type is a Copter Control 3D. It's a multi-rotor vehicle. It's a quadcopter in the X position. My input type RC receiver is a PWM. And my speed controllers I've got set to 400 megahertz refresh rate. Now, you need to make sure that you have your hardware connected correctly. So if you click on the hardware icon there, it'll show you the copter control board, your RC receiver, and your vehicle. So you'll see from your RC receiver to your quadcopter board, you'll have channel 1 as throttle, which is black, red and white. Channel 2 is roll, which is blue. Pitch, which is yellow. Yaw, which is green. And your flight mode switch, which is orange. Now you can see on mine how it's plugged in, where the multi-plug port goes into the board, and then each one of the different cables plugs into my receiver. So once you have that sorted on that side, you need to make sure your speed controllers are plugged in correctly. So you'll have obviously channel 1 on motor 1, channel 2 motor 2, 3 on 3, 4 on 4, and so on if you have more than 4 motors. So from there we go next. Now we need to calibrate the level of the vehicle. The reason for this is that the initial flight, this helps calibrate the level BIOS, the Accel BIOS for your flight, so how level your vehicle will fly initially. Now this can be adjusted within the ground control station later on. This just gives you a basic setup. So make sure that your vehicle is sitting on a very flat, very level surface. Once you're happy that it's there, click calculate. And once done, it'll come up with a little done down here on the bottom left hand side. So from there we click next and we come to our output configuration. Now again, there's a very important warning to make sure that you remove your props. So if you did not do it when you first started, please remove them now. The next steps will spin up your motors. Now there is one thing to watch out for that will only affect a very, very small number of people. There's some speed controllers, one being the X-Aircraft speed controllers, that are totally non-standard and have different timings than standard ones do. Now they are supported by the OpenPilot Copter Control Board, but only in the ground control station, not via the Wizard. It's the way that their timings work will be different. So you have X-Craft speed controllers, you'll need to skip the next couple of steps. So if we go next, we'll come to the output calibration page. Now what this page will allow you to do is to set the neutral rate for the motor and check the direction of each motor to ensure that is traveling in the correct direction. So if you have X-Craft speed controllers, please step these next few steps. So just go next, next, and next, and then pick the tutorial up once we go past this point. So coming back, for the majority of users that have standard speed controllers other than X-Craft, you are fine with these steps. So what we need to do is firstly plug our flight battery in. So we power up our speed controllers, our RC input, and our motors. So once that's powered up, we come here, we click start, and we slowly move the slider up until motor number 1 starts spinning. Now we don't want it spinning fast, we want to just move the slider up till it just starts spinning. Once we get to that point, we push stop. Now what I'll mention at this stage is if you have a motor that may travel in the incorrect direction, it's a very easy thing to change. What I have here is a motor and a speed controller. You'll see that it's connected via the 3 cables. So all you need to do is swap over 2 of the cables. It doesn't matter whether it's red, blue, blue, black, black, red, whichever ones you decide, whichever's easiest to undo. So you take one wire out, put it into the other one, put the red back into where the blue was, and that's it. That will now make your motor run in the opposite direction. It's that easy. Okay, once we've ascertained that if motor 1 is running in the correct direction, or we adjust that by changing the speed control wire, we need to go on to motor 2, do the same thing. Just start it running. Obviously check the direction, make sure in this case it is running in anti-clockwise direction. Motor number 3, again we move it up till it just starts spinning. Again, making sure that it is travelling in the correct direction. Motor 3 should be in clockwise position. And motor number 4. Again, making sure that it's spinning in the correct direction. So we click stop. Now we've calibrated all 4 motors. So from here we go next, and we're ready to save. So if you click the big save button, it will go through and save all your different settings to your board. Once finished, it'll come up with the done. So from there we go next, and that is it for the setup wizard. We've completed the basic setup for the board. There is a lot more configuration you can do through the ground control station. Next step we need to do is to set up our radio. So what we need to do is to unplug the flight battery and turn on your receiver. Or your transmitter, sorry. Once your transmitter's on, plug your flight battery back in, and we click on the radio setup wizard. Now it'll come up and tell us that the arming settings are now set to always disarm for your safety. What this means, even though if you push the throttle up, it will not start the motors. So we can see that it comes up with the start. So we go next. Now we have to select from here whether we're running a mode 1 or a mode 2. Now mode 1 means your throttle stick is on your right. Mode 2 means your throttle stick is on your left. So select which one is correct for your transmitter. Go next. Now with here we need to select either acro or heli. All multi-rotors need to be just select acro. It means normal transmitter, you haven't got a collective pitch or a throttle input. So we need to select acro for a multi-rotor. Go next. Now what it needs us to do is to move each stick as it shows on the picture on the screen there, so it can map those controls. So throttle, roll, pitch, yaw. Now your flight mode switch, which allows you to set up different flight modes within the ground control station, be it rate or attitude mode. That's something that we'll get into in later tutorials. So from here I don't use an accessory switch, so go next. next, and next through the three of them. Now what it needs us to do is to center all our controls, which includes our throttle. So we put our throttle up to middle, and then we click next, and now you can see it looks like it's going crazy, but what it's doing, it wants to find the maximum extents of each of your transmitter stick controls. So what we do is just one at a time, just move it to its extents. We do the other side, just go around a couple of times, go right to the edges, let it go, toggle your flight switch. Also, if you've set the accessory switches, toggle them as well at this point. Once they're all done, we go next. Now what we need to do is to check to see whether the stick directions are going in the correct direction or they need to be reversed. So we move each one in turn, doesn't matter which ones you move to start with. I'll start with throttle. So as I move the throttle, you can see that the throttle stick on the ground control station is going up and down. I move the yaw, and as you can see, the picture on the ground control station is mimicking the controls that I'm putting in through my transmitter. We come to pitch. Now with pitch, as you can see, I've moved down, but the transmitter stick has gone up, so it needs to be reversed. So what we do is over the side here, because it's the pitch one, we click the checkbox. Now when we move the pitch, you'll find that the pitch stick on both the ground control station and the transmitter follow each other. And lastly, the roll, as you can see, that's moving in the correct directions as well. So from there we click next, and we've basically finished. We just need to just double check now that everything works properly, that it follows each other. So again, just move your sticks around a little bit to make sure that when you move your transmitter, the picture on the ground control station, the sticks follow that. Next, and now we've finished the setup wizard for your transmitter. Now there's a couple of things that we just need to double check. We need to go to flight mode settings. Okay, so you'll see here that we have our flight mode settings. As I flick my flight mode switch, you'll see that the position here changes between 1 and 3. I only have a 2 position, so it jumps between those. So these are your different stabilization modes that you can select. So you can select rate or attitude. They're the main two for multi-rotor. So my suggestion, if you are new to flying, that you leave both just in attitude mode to start with. Change this one from rate to axis lock as well. So basically it's not disabling, but you're using the same settings on your flight mode switch, but your attitude mode is the easiest and the most stabilized mode to start flying in. So I recommend that you start in that, not in rate mode, or never select axis lock for roll or pitch or anything like that. Again, just start out in attitude mode for learning. It will give you the best chance of keeping your quad level and in the air, and later on you can get into different flight modes. So that is it. Other than, well, we've got one more thing we need to check: your arming settings. Now what this is when you move a stick, it will actually arm the board. So if you look at my quad at the moment, I'm pushing my throttle up and down and nothing's happening because the board is disarmed. So what we need to do is arm it, which is to make it active. So the most common one that's used is the yaw stick. So yaw right for arming it. Click save. Once it's saved, when I move the yaw stick to the right, hold it for a few seconds, you'll see the light on the copter control board starts blinking fast. That means it is active, it is armed, and it is ready to fly. So if I push my throttle stick up now, you'll see all 4 motors spin. Now to unarm the copter control board, push the yaw stick to the left, hold it for a second, and you'll see that the blue LED will start blinking slow. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and please visit us at OpenPilot, and please check out the wiki site to get the information that you may need for that. Also, there's the OpenPilot forum site, which is a fantastic forum site. There's a lot of people on there that are more than happy to help out. But first, check the wiki site. The answers are probably on there you need, but otherwise jump into the forums and say hello to us, and we'll see you at OpenPilot. Thank you very much, and goodbye.